Something extraordinary just happened above the Arctic Circle, quietly, without headlines, without drama, and without the world realizing what it means. Canada and Australia have signed a $6.6 billion agreement to build one of the most advanced over-the-horizon radar systems ever deployed in the Northern Hemisphere. A system capable of detecting aircraft and vessels thousands of kilometers away, far beyond the curve of the Earth. For the first time, Canada will be able to see deep into the Arctic and across its northern approaches, and while the move looks technical, its strategic impact is anything but. One major power never saw it coming. Welcome to Geocapitalist, the channel where we uncover the strategic decisions shaping the future of global power. Moves that rarely make headlines, yet quietly redefine nations' influence for decades. Today, we're examining one of the most important developments in Canada's modern defense landscape, Canada's $6.6 billion Arctic radar pact with Australia, a decision so significant it has quietly blindsided China. If you appreciate clear geopolitical analysis, consider subscribing. It helps us bring these crucial stories to the surface. And as always, the visuals in this video are simulations used for educational and analytical purposes only. Now, let's continue. For most of the 20th century, the Arctic existed at the edge of global strategy, vast, frozen, and largely inaccessible. But that perception has changed with remarkable speed. Melting sea ice is opening new maritime routes that shorten the distance between Europe and Asia by thousands of kilometers, transforming the region from a quiet frontier into a strategic crossroads. Nations with Arctic territory are now facing a new reality. Whoever understands, protects, and monitors the northern approaches will shape the security environment of the entire North Atlantic for decades. For Canada, this is not an abstract concept. Nearly 40% of its landmass lies within the Arctic region, and its northern coastline is longer than that of any other country. Yet until recently, Canada lacked a surveillance system capable of seeing far beyond the horizon, an essential requirement in a region where aircraft, vessels, and even long-range assets can operate undetected for hours. Radar systems limited by Earth's curvature simply cannot provide the early warning coverage that modern threats demand. The Arctic is too vast, too exposed, and changing too quickly. This is the challenge Canada needed to solve, and the reason Australia became an unexpected but ideal partner. Canada's new system with Australia is not a simple upgrade. It is a completely different class of technology. Over-the-horizon radar, or OTHR, works by bouncing radio waves off the ionosphere, allowing operators to detect aircraft and vessels thousands of kilometers away, far beyond the limits of conventional radar. Instead of seeing only to the edge of Earth's curvature, OTHR can observe movements deep into remote airspace and across long stretches of ocean that were previously invisible. For a country with Canada's geography, this difference is transformational. Australia is one of the few nations that already operates such a system. Its Jindalee operational radar network, known as JORN, covers enormous distances across the Australian continent and surrounding waters, giving the country early warning capability unmatched in its region. That expertise is exactly what Canada sought. A proven partner with decades of operational experience in long-range detection. By working with Australia, Canada avoids years of trial and error development and gains access to technology adapted for harsh, unpredictable environments, conditions remarkably similar to the Canadian Arctic. Australia may seem like an unexpected collaborator for a project centered on the far north, but in reality, no country is better suited to support Canada's Arctic radar ambitions. Australia has spent more than 3 decades refining its over-the-horizon radar capabilities through JORN, a system designed to operate across vast empty distances, unpredictable atmospheric conditions, and remote terrain. These are challenges remarkably similar to those faced in the Canadian Arctic, where isolation and extreme weather make traditional surveillance systems unreliable and difficult to maintain. Beyond the technical expertise, Australia brings something equally valuable: operational experience. Its radar network has been used for early warning, maritime domain awareness, and long-range monitoring across the Indo-Pacific, one of the busiest and most strategically contested regions in the world. Canada gains immediate insight into how such a system performs under real geopolitical pressure. Importantly, Australia is also a trusted, like-minded ally with deep ties to Western defense networks. By choosing Australia instead of a more conventional supplier, Canada ensures that its new early warning system remains integrated, interoperable, and fully aligned with the standards of its closest security partners. Canada's decision to deploy an over-the-horizon radar is more than a technological upgrade. It is a fundamental shift in how the country understands and manages its northern security. For the first time, Canada will have the ability to observe activity far beyond its coastline, tracking aircraft and vessels long before they approach its airspace. This early warning capability strengthens continental defense, enhances maritime awareness, and gives Canada a more active role in shaping the security environment of the entire North American region. But here's the question policymakers are quietly asking: what does Canada do with visibility it never had before? Because once Canada can detect long-range movements across the Arctic, it becomes not just a beneficiary of information, but a provider of it, supporting allies, informing shared defense networks, and contributing unique data that others cannot collect. This is where the pact with Australia becomes transformational. By combining Canadian geography with Australian expertise, the new radar system elevates Canada from being largely reactive in its northern domain to becoming a central node in continental and Arctic surveillance. Visibility in this context becomes influence, and influence reshapes alliances. The significance of the Canada-Australia radar partnership goes far beyond hardware. It represents a deeper shift in how middle powers coordinate to protect shared interests in an era of rapid geopolitical change. Both nations are vast, resource-rich democracies with enormous coastlines, strategic exposure, and a common challenge: monitoring remote areas where traditional surveillance has always struggled. By working together, they are creating a model of cooperation that strengthens not only their individual defenses, but also the broader network of allies that depend on reliable early warning systems. This collaboration also signals something important about strategic trust. Australia does not transfer radar expertise casually, and Canada does not integrate foreign technology into continental defense without rigorous evaluation. Their decision to move forward together highlights a level of confidence that is becoming increasingly rare in global security. And here's where I'd like to involve you directly. What do you think about Canada and Australia joining forces on a project of this scale? Does this partnership strengthen the stability of the Arctic and the Indo-Pacific, or reshape alliances in ways still not fully understood? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective adds depth to this conversation. While the agreement between Canada and Australia was announced with calm, diplomatic language, the strategic community noticed immediately. A long-range radar system in the Canadian Arctic changes the information environment for every country operating in the high north. It enhances transparency, strengthens early warning, and reduces the chances that long-range aircraft or maritime assets can approach undetected. For allies, this development is stabilizing. For others, it complicates long-standing assumptions about visibility across the polar region. China, in particular, has spent years expanding its scientific and logistical presence around the Arctic, framing itself as a near-Arctic state. Although the radar is not directed at any specific country, enhanced monitoring reduces the margin of ambiguity that long-range actors once relied on. Russia, too, must account for a Canada with far deeper situational awareness over northern approaches. The key point is not confrontation, it's capability. Canada is moving from a position where it had limited reach in its own Arctic domain to one where it can observe and respond with greater confidence. That shift alters calculations across multiple capitals, even if few will say so publicly. Canada's new over-the-horizon radar is not an isolated project. It directly strengthens NORAD, the joint U.S.-Canada command responsible for continental defense. For decades, NORAD has relied heavily on ground-based radars with limited range, satellite coverage, and early warning systems positioned far from the Arctic's most dynamic regions. By adding long-range Arctic detection to the network, Canada provides data that fills one of the continent's largest surveillance gaps. This upgrade matters because modern threats move quickly. Long-range aircraft, cruise missiles, and unconventional platforms can approach from polar routes, where tracking has historically been weakest. While the new radar is not a defensive weapon, it improves awareness, giving NORAD more time to understand, assess, and respond. In continental defense, minutes can change outcomes. For Canada, this is a long overdue elevation of its role. Instead of being a secondary contributor within the command structure, Canada becomes a source of critical northern intelligence. That transition, from consumer to provider, deepens trust, enhances cooperation, and aligns perfectly with the country's long-term security responsibilities. Canada's partnership with Australia signals something larger than a single defense project. It marks the beginning of a new era in how Canada positions itself within the Arctic. For years, the country relied on geography and distance as natural barriers, assuming remoteness equaled safety. But the world has changed. New routes are opening, global powers are investing in northern infrastructure, and competition for influence is accelerating. In this environment, visibility becomes strategy, and strategy becomes leverage. With the new radar system, Canada is stepping into a more assertive, informed, and proactive role. It gains early warning capabilities, strengthens its credibility within allied networks, and demonstrates that it is prepared to protect its vast northern domain with modern tools rather than legacy assumptions. The partnership with Australia amplifies this shift by showing that Canada is willing to collaborate, share expertise, and invest substantially in technologies that define the future of continental security. In many ways, this is Canada's strategic awakening, a moment where the North becomes not just a frontier, but a cornerstone of national power. This was Canada's $6.6 billion Arctic radar pact with Australia. How do you think this partnership will reshape Arctic security in the next decade? And should Canada deepen more alliances like this to strengthen its northern future? If you gained clarity today, I invite you to watch the next episode, because the world is shifting fast and every alliance tells a story. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps this channel continue delivering fact-based analysis. Thank you for being here, for your comments, and for your trust. See you in the next video.